Hi everyone, Arty Farty Annie here. Welcome to my craft room. Today I'm going to show you how I made these pretty wedding invitations for some friends of mine who are getting married in September. When you take the decorative band off, the whole thing opens out like this, and inside there's plenty of space to put all the details you need for your invitation. We use 3 sheets of lightweight card inside to hold all the details, and then the whole thing folds up like this. And the decorative band holds the whole thing together. So you're going to need a craft mat to work on, a ruler, a pencil, a pair of scissors, something circular to draw around. You'll see why we need that in a minute. A bone folder or something to give you a nice crisp creases. This is a cute one my son made for me out of a piece of wood. You want some double-sided tape, some rough paper to make the template with, and then for the decorative bands and the insides you'll need some either heavyweight paper or lightweight card like this. I think I got mine cheaply from Amazon. And then for the outer I used this Craft Colour 12-inch cardstock, but you can use whatever colour combination you like. And I bought in ready-made 6-inch envelopes, again quite cheaply from eBay or somewhere. You can trim it with whatever you like. We went for a sort of vintage lace look. This is where you need the stronger double-sided tape to make sure it sticks. You could use whatever trims you like, matched to your colour scheme of your wedding or whatever event. And then we finished off to complete the natural look with this. Really, it's just garden string. It was quite a nice quality one, and it was 4-ply, so I sort of unravelled it. I just used 2-ply. And then you need flowers or some other kind of decorative item to finish with. Vintage buttons would be really pretty. With my flowers, I took them off in pairs and twisted them together. And later on I'll show you how to make a corkscrew tail on them. So let's get started. We're going to make the template first. I started by cutting a square. I think this is a 5-inch square. So, you could start off with whatever size you want your finished invitation to be, but this is what I did. And then I used my circle to create the sort of petal shape off of each side. You'll see what I mean as I go along. Now I'm starting off here by drawing around the square, thinking it'd be much easier to draw around it and get it out of the way. And then I'm carefully lining up my circle with the corners of the square, and then realising, hang on a minute, that's not really going to show up very well on the film. So I'm bringing the square back in. But you do it whichever way you find easiest. So draw carefully around. You do need to be quite accurate. Make sure it lines up carefully with the points of the square. The corners. I know what I mean. I didn't measure anything, I just sort of eyeballed it and it seemed to work out fine. So you work round now and do that around the next 2 sides. And then cut out your template. I'm not going to bore you with watching that, so here's one I prepared earlier. And we're ready to go. So I'm placing my template on the 12-inch square so that I leave that, don't plonk it in the middle, I leave that strip down the right hand side, and I can also cut out the, look, I'm showing you a quick glimpse of the place cards I made later with the offcuts, but that's another story. So I'm going to draw around the template here, and the reason I've left that right hand edge is that I can cut the strip for the decorative band from that. And here I've speeded up the film so you don't have to sit and watch me cut around this shape. It's actually quite hard work if you cut too many at one time. I had 40 of these to make, so I can tell you I didn't cut them all at once. I tended to sort of cut a few, go off, do something else, come back, cut a few more. So here's what to do with the waist, which isn't going to be wasted. I'm just cutting a strip off that right hand side, basically as wide as it'll go. It doesn't need to be measured accurately. And then I'm cutting a strip just slightly wider from my contrasting card. As I say, you could use all sorts of colour combinations. There we are. So put that to one side for a bit, and let's sort out the main body of the invitation. Now you could do this on a scoreboard, I guess, but with the rounded edges I found that a bit awkward, so this was the way I found easiest. But do whatever suits you again. I've just lined up the ruler from corner to corner, and then gently coaxed the paper against the edge of the ruler up into a fold, and then use my bone folder to really press that down well and give it a good crisp crease. It's quite important to do this as accurately as you can, because it'll, the finished result will be so much better. So speeding up again here a little bit as I work around all four sides. Yeah, and I'm just slowing down to say that if you don't happen to have a bone folder, if you're doing something like this for the first time, you're not a crafter, you can use anything, your pencil, your head of your scissors, your thumbnail even, or your ruler. So if you don't happen to have a craft room full of stuff like some of us do, you can make do with whatever you've got to hand. It's really quite simple, this one, and it all folds together like that. Now, going back to the decorative band, this one has started at 11.5 inches long, and then I'm going to score it at 3 1/8. Okay, and if you don't have a scoreboard like this, you could just do it you'd have to, measure it with a ruler. And then I've turned it round and done the 3 1/8 from the other end, which leaves a piece 5 1/4 inches in the middle. So that's just slightly bigger than the square it's going to be wrapping around, if that makes sense, because you need to give it a little bit of wiggle room to get on and off easily. If you made it exactly the size of your invitation, you wouldn't get it on there. Yes, that's that piece. That's the underneath piece. Now the contrast piece has to go over the top, so that has to be a little bit bigger again, because that's got to wrap around the lighter colour piece. So this has started at 12 inches long, and I'm going in 3 1/4 inches. And I could turn it around here and do 3 1/4 inches from the other end. But I think for some reason I'll do it slightly differently this time. Yeah, I put it back in the same way round, and I'm going to score it at 5 1/2 inches. So essentially you've got 3 1/4 inches on either end and 5 1/2 inches in the middle. You can see me stopping. That's the film hasn't stopped. That's me pausing for thought to make sure I'm scoring in the right place. The maths did my head in a little bit, but once you've got it worked out, it's quite simple. And you would need to adjust it slightly if you're making different sized invitations, of course. So there we are, using my bone folder on all the creases to make them nice and sharp. And that's it. They're ready to be glued together. I made that look all quick and easy there, but actually it took me a little while to work out the sums. I'll put all the measurements in the space down below. Perhaps and here I'm using wet glue rather than the double-sided tape. You must do what you prefer, but for this kind of thing I find the wet glue a little bit easier. It's more forgiving. You've got a little time to move the pieces about and make sure they're perfectly lined up, whereas with tape it just grips straight away. There we are. That's all carefully lined up there, just making sure everything fits and the join looks right, and then I'm going to glue the ends. Oh no, I'm just going to trim off that little bit first. Nice and tidy. I never seem to come out exactly the same. There we are. Always helps to take the top off the glue. Little top tip there. And I've been really good at putting it on again as well, so it doesn't clog up. Don't you hate when that happens? Okay, so let's just pressing those two ends together, and I'll leave that to one side just to dry for a minute. If you were making a whole lot of these, it would make sense to do a whole load at one time and leave them to dry, and then move on to something else. Here I'm showing you the place card again, just to show that corkscrew end on the flowers. So once you've twisted the flowers together, you need something like this. I found this little piece of dowel. You could use a chopstick or a biro or, I don't know, pokey tool, just to twist the stems around. So this is what I did with my flowers. I put them together into pairs, and then I twisted the stems together like this. And then snip off the ends to tidy them up. And then the ends just twist around the dowel, not too tightly. And then when you've gone all the way to the bottom, you can slip the dowel out and you're left with a corkscrew end. But don't do this before you put them onto your invitation, because what I've done here is thread the stem through and then twisted the end of the tail. If you twisted it first, you'd never get it through that invitation. So there we are. I've put my decorative band onto the invitation to work on, and I'm using the strong double-sided tape here so that it will definitely keep that lace stuck to the cardstock. And I'm rubbing it down with a bone folder, or rub it down with your thumbnail even. Just, it seems to make it stay stuck more reliably, and also it makes it easier to get that annoying backing paper off if you do this. So it's worth just a couple of seconds to do that. And then I'm just choosing which ribbon I'm going to use. Okay, now I'm just measuring how much I need. You need about 12 inches or so. So I had fun working out the maths for 40 invitations. So a metre will do about 3 invitations. So I'm taking the backing paper off my double-sided tape. That's called high-tack tape, that, if you don't know it. You could use glue here. I think for this bit the tape's a little bit cleaner. And oh look, it's just showing you my lovely parting there. Probably need to be touching up the old roots. I'm just pressing that down well. And I'm getting my flower ready here, because that's got to be threaded through the lace before I stick it down. Taking the backing tape off, rolling up the sleeves again, and I'm just overlapping the lace here with just a little bit of room. I'm not pressing it down to the sticky yet, just holding it up so that I can get the stem in through those holes. So I'm going to in one hole underneath and up out through the other hole. Took a bit of fiddling about this, so there we are. Here's one I prepared earlier. And this is where now I will take the dowel and do that little corkscrew finish on the stems. So you can see why, if you did that first, you wouldn't stand a hope of getting it in through the lace. So I say a couple of pretty vintage buttons or beads or whatever, or little charms you could do instead of the flowers. All sorts of possibilities. And now I'm cutting a length of string. You need plenty here because it's got to be, you need a generous amount to be able to tie a bow. And I'm just splitting it from 4-ply into 2-ply. It just made it look a little bit more delicate. It's a bit heavy as it was, and also it made it go twice as far. I found that ball of string was way more than I needed. I didn't even use half of it for 40 invitations. Tying bows isn't my best thing, although I'm a lot better at them after tying 40 of them. It's getting the knack of tying it so that it doesn't just turn sideways. There are loads and loads of tutorials on YouTube just about tying bows, by the way, if you're like me and you need one. Well, that one's come out very well, and I'm just sort of unravelling the ends a little bit there just to make it look more sort of rustic. And there we are. That's it, I'm done. Just trying to do the thumbs up, not sure which way up it should be. Thanks for watching today. I hope you find that useful and have fun making your own invitations.